When I was younger, my dad made me do things that I was too young.
All right.
It's 1996 in Port Talbot, South Wales, and father of three, Kevin Twomey, is well respected as a good family man by the local community. But behind closed doors, Twomey has already begun to abuse his 10-year-old daughter, Emma.
When he was abusing me, he wasn't himself. He wasn't the father that I loved and respected. It was like as if somebody had taken over his body and he was a completely different person.
After the first incident, 10-year-old Emma is scared to be at home alone with her dad.
It was early in the morning. I think I slept awkward because I remember going downstairs and my neck and shoulder was hurting on one side. And he said, "Doc, come here now, sit in front of me, I'll massage your neck and shoulder to ease the pain." He did massage my neck a little bit, and then his hand started to wander a bit. When I realised what he was doing, I pushed his arms away and I just ran off to my bedroom. And he just come up, I was sat by the door, didn't let him in, and he just said the same thing again, you can't tell anyone.
Emma decides to keep her dad's secret, but keeps a distance from her father.
After that, I was thinking, I don't want to be alone with him anymore.
Twomey realises his eldest daughter is a risk, so he focuses his perverted attention on Nicola, who is just 5 years old.
Nicola describes the first time that her father abused her as being carried out through play. In my professional experience, that happens quite regularly.
I was 5 years old and we were in the living room and we ran around in the house. And he picked me up, he sat me on his lap and he just put his hand on my leg, and then I didn't think nothing of it, and then it just started getting higher and higher, and then he put his hand on my private parts. And because I was so young, I didn't think that it was anything wrong, and I just sat there, and then when he was finished, he lifted me off his lap, put me on the floor, and I just ran out, and I didn't think nothing of it. I thought it happened to everybody. I thought it was normal. I know he was hurting me and I didn't like it, and I kept telling him, you're hurting me, I don't want to play a game no more. And he wouldn't really stop, so I'd start crying. And then, he'd stop, he'd walk out, and, I'd just be sitting there crying.
Over the next 5 years, assaults become a regular occurrence for Nicola. But when she starts secondary school, she gets a terrible shock.
When I started school, a few of my friends were talking about stuff they did with their dads, and something just didn't add up, and I pulled one of my friends to a side and I said, do you do this for your dad? Does your dad do this to you, sort of thing? And she was like, no, that's wrong.
As Nicola develops into a young woman in the family home, the abuse from her father escalates. As the assaults become more severe, Nicola finds it hard to understand her father's behaviour.
I'd beg him, please, no, don't do this now, please just don't do it to me. Every time he'd finish, he'd always say, please don't say anything, it's our little secret, you're going to break up the family if you do say anything, you know that, don't you? And sort of like manipulating me to think that my whole world had just come crumbling around me. I'd lose everything. So everything I had, my singing career, my everything I had, was all just going to disappear if I had just told anybody anything. I always sort of blamed myself. I was always like, why is he doing this to me? Is it my fault? Am I doing something? I always tried to be the best daughter I could possibly be when, we were out and about as a family and stuff, because I thought, if I'm good, maybe he'll stop.
Nicola begins writing a diary, describing what her dad does to her.
I couldn't take, carrying this secret around me anymore. I couldn't take it. It was draining me. Every time he abused me, I wrote it down in my diary, kept it under my pillow with a lock on it, and it helped me so much.
As they share a bedroom, it's not long before Emma discovers her sister's diary.
I came to a page where she described something that my dad did to her, and the realisation came then that it wasn't just me. It happened to her, even though she was younger than me. And I was a bit in shock, to be honest. I wasn't expecting to read something like that in a little kid's diary.
She said, everything you've written in the back, is it true? And I just started crying. I couldn't really answer her because I was so upset. And she said, you know, she put her arms around me and she said, don't worry, he does it to me too.
I thought that he'd never do anything to my sister because I pushed him away so many times and he knew he couldn't do anything, couldn't physically do anything. Didn't think he'd try it with my sister either.
In 2007, while still living at home, Emma meets someone and falls pregnant. Unbeknown to Emma, her younger sister is still being abused by their dad. Emma gives birth to her first child, Amelia, and moves out of the family home, leaving 17-year-old Nicola on her own.
Nicola was alone and she was more vulnerable, and that's when the abuse by Kevin Twomey got worse.
In June 2008, Nicola finally decides to tell her mum what's happened.
I said, I can't deal with this no more. I said, I can't live with it. I said, Dad's been doing this to me. And I started crying. She held my hands and she said, I'll try my best to keep away from him.
A few weeks after she told her mum, realising that her dad is a threat to her niece, Nicola goes to the police.
When I was younger, my dad made me do things that I was too young.
All right.
When I was little, my dad made me understand then, and he used to do it to my sister as well.
Can you explain what happened?
He used to try and touch me places and he used to try and get me to touch him.
But what age were you when this started?
Probably say around 9 or 10 maybe.
I knew I was doing the right thing and it felt good. It felt really good.
After it was like a huge weight had been lifted. I thought, well, I should have done this years ago.
After the video statements, Nicola is told that she cannot return to the family home and she is waiting for her father to be arrested.
Officers attended there in the morning, arrested him on suspicion of the sexual offences against Nicola and Emma.
In March 2009, Kevin Twomey is awaiting trial at Swansea Crown Court for 17 charges of abuse against his daughters Nicola and Emma. But Twomey is pleading not guilty on all accounts. On the 2nd of April 2009, Kevin Twomey is found guilty of 8 counts of indecent assault, 5 sexual assaults, and 2 counts of rape on Nicola. He is also convicted of attempted indecent assault and indecent assault on his daughter Emma. He is given a total of 14 years and 6 months imprisonment.